Maya couldn't explain it. Everyone around her thought her partner was wonderful, charming, thoughtful, always saying the right thing. But alone with him, she felt like she was going crazy. She'd leave conversations feeling confused, guilty, and somehow wrong. Even when she knew she hadn't done anything wrong, she started questioning her own memory, her own feelings, her own sanity. What Maya didn't know was that she wasn't losing her mind. She was being manipulated. Here's the thing about toxic people that makes them so dangerous: they don't announce themselves. They don't walk into your life with a warning label. In fact, they often seem like the best thing that ever happened to you. At first, psychologist George K. Simon spent decades studying manipulation, and he discovered something that changes everything. Successful manipulators do two things simultaneously. They conceal their true intentions while appearing completely harmless. That's why you don't see it coming. That's why everyone else thinks they're great. And that's why by the time you realize what's happening, you're already questioning yourself. Today, I'm going to break down 4 covert tactics that manipulators use to control you without you ever realizing it. And more importantly, I'll show you how to protect yourself. Let's go back to Maya's story. When Maya first met him, it felt like a movie. He was attentive, really attentive, remembered every little thing she mentioned, texted good morning and good night, made her feel like she was the only person in the world. This is called love bombing. And it's not romance, it's a calculated strategy. Researchers at Cambridge University recently published a groundbreaking study on what they call weaponized attachment. They found that abusers deliberately engineer emotional bonds through pattern tactics, and it almost always starts before any visible abuse begins. The lead researcher called it the two-faced soulmate profile. Someone who combines intense affection with future cruelty. But here's what makes it so effective. In those early days, the charm is real. The manipulator is being charming. The attention is intense. And it feels good because your brain is literally being flooded with dopamine. That's the trap. Because once you're emotionally invested, once your brain has learned to associate this person with those feel-good chemicals, something shifts. One day, Maya's partner was loving and present. The next day, cold, distant. She couldn't figure out what she'd done wrong. Then, just as she was about to give up, just as she'd convinced herself she needed to leave, he'd suddenly be wonderful again. Sweet, apologetic, the man she fell for. And she'd think, see? He really does love me. I was overreacting. This is called intermittent reinforcement. And it's one of the most powerful psychological forces ever discovered. You know why slot machines are so addictive? It's not because you win often, it's because you win unpredictably. B.F. Skinner discovered in the 1957 that rewards given on an unpredictable schedule create the strongest behavioral attachment, stronger than consistent rewards, stronger than no rewards at all. Your brain doesn't just want the good treatment. It becomes obsessed with trying to get it back. You start analyzing everything you said, everything you did, trying to figure out how to make the good version return. And here's the devastating part. The unpredictability is intentional. You're not doing anything wrong. There is no pattern to crack. The inconsistency itself is the strategy. Maya started to notice something strange. Conversations she clearly remembered. He said never happened. Things he definitely said. He claimed she misunderstood. You're being too sensitive. That's not what I meant. You always twist my words. I never said that. You must be confused. This is gaslighting. And it works by exploiting something every healthy person has: the ability to self-reflect. Think about it. When someone tells you that you misunderstood something, what's your first instinct? If you're a reasonable person, you think, maybe I did misunderstand. Let me reconsider. That's healthy. That's how good relationships work. We check ourselves, we stay humble, we consider other perspectives. But a manipulator weaponizes your humility. They count on you being reasonable. They count on you giving them the benefit of the doubt. And they use that trust against you over and over until you don't trust your own memory anymore. Psychologist George Simon writes that manipulators use tactics like denial, rationalization, and diversion not unconsciously, but deliberately. Over time, it just becomes reflexive, automatic. For them, it's second nature. For you, it's psychological warfare. Whenever Maya tried to address a problem, whenever she brought up something that bothered her, he shut down. Complete silence, cold shoulder, sometimes for hours, sometimes for days, no explanation. No resolution, just nothing. And here's what the silence taught Maya. Don't bring up problems. The silent treatment isn't just immaturity. According to research by David Buss, it's one of 6 primary manipulation tactics used in close relationships, and it's devastatingly effective because it punishes you for having needs. Every time you try to communicate, you're met with withdrawal, so your brain learns, speaking up equals pain, staying quiet equals peace. Eventually, you stop bringing things up. You walk on eggshells. You manage their emotions to protect yourself. And the manipulator has exactly what they wanted: total control without ever raising their voice. Maya's turning point came when a friend asked her a simple question. When you spend time with him, do you feel better about yourself, or worse? She couldn't answer. And in that moment, in that silence, she finally saw the pattern, the charm that drew her in, the hot and cold that kept her hooked, the reality distortion that made her doubt herself. The punishment for speaking up, it wasn't random, it was a system. And once she could see it, once she had the language to describe what was happening, she could no longer unsee it. That's the power of understanding manipulation. Awareness breaks the spell. So how do you protect yourself? There's one question that cuts through every manipulation tactic I've described today. One question that a healthy relationship will never make you afraid to ask. Let this land. How do I feel about myself when I'm around this person? Not, how much do I love them? Not, how do they make me feel when things are good? Not, what would other people think? How do you feel about yourself? Because here's the truth. Manipulation always involves making you smaller. It makes you doubt yourself, question yourself, shrink yourself. A person who truly cares about you will make you feel more confident over time, more secure, more yourself. If you consistently feel less than who you are around someone, if you're constantly walking on eggshells, apologizing, or managing their emotions, that's not love, that's control. Maya eventually left that relationship. It wasn't easy, trauma bonds rarely are. But understanding what was happening gave her the clarity to see that the problem was never her. If anything I've described today sounds familiar to you, whether in a relationship, a friendship, or even a family dynamic, I want you to know. You're not crazy, you're not too sensitive. And you're definitely not alone. If you want to go deeper, I made a video breaking down 7 specific phrases manipulators use, so you can recognize them the moment you hear them. I'll link it here. And if this video helped you see something more clearly, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're building a community here of people who understand psychology, not to manipulate but to protect. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.